So after last week's crazy cliffhanger, there was two thought processes that I basically saw. The first of which is something that I think there's a small portion of us, you can rewind a few weeks back in my own videos, the whole idea of like a kill switch, a sort of mind control, that was something that has been getting brought up. There was a decent amount of pushback because how would an artificial heart control the mind? Controlling Chisato to then fight Takina, you could see how that could be pretty heartbreaking. Start looking at the opening a bit more closely. You can see where the thought process is, but I'm not gonna lie, like the whole idea of how would an artificial heart control the brain, unless there's some extra wires that they put up in there which she doesn't know about, otherwise how would that happen? To me, what last week symbolized was that they were trying to take the heart back. You were a failure, you didn't live up to what we basically agreed upon when giving you said heart, so because you're not our killing machine, we're going to take it back. I thought they're doing a full-on surgery. Now, in hindsight, you could look at it and say, well, they were just kind of stabbing and electrocuting, but I thought maybe that was just the start of what they're going to do. And what they ended up doing is way more heartbreaking, in my opinion, because the realization that someone's going to die a lot sooner than intended is always something that, you dread thinking about your own loved ones, because we all know, in the grand scheme of the universe, a human's life is pretty short, right? 80 years on average, probably a little less if you have an unhealthy lifestyle. If you're really healthy, really lucky, you'll make it past that 80 milestone. Hell, some people make it past 100, right? But it's still a short amount of time. But I think in the now, you don't look at the people next to you and say they're gonna die in 2 months' time. Even in a job like theirs, you just don't assume that because life seems longer until it really starts to get that shattering realization. You see people age around you. And the idea that they stopped it from being able to be recharged. The whole idea that now she has a 2-month limit. Now, given the job, most likely it's shorter than that. If she doesn't do anything exhausting, she might be able to live a bit past that. But the technology of the Allen Institute is completely different, meaning that only they could do something. Now, they do talk about how this heart wasn't perfect to begin with, that it was only going to originally last till maybe she was 18 at best anyway. So right now, the obvious way to save Chisato is a heart transplant. Now, the episode ends with Majima pulling some guns on old Shinji and company. So is that because, he wants to help her? Or is it just because he's just doing his thing trying to tear down the Institute? And most likely the DA in the process. Because when you look at the DA and a lot of the things that's happened to them recently, it's hard to imagine them not being in the pockets of the Allen Institute. In my opinion, it's literally impossible. There are so many things that have happened that should be impossible over the course of 9 episodes. The whole idea that after the whole 2 months left to live, the DA decided to come once again back saying, use your remaining time wisely, to me almost saying like, hey, this is your last shot. We literally put in the kill switch. You have 2 months left to live. If you prove to us that you'll be the right killing tool, we'll give you another heart because she's probably already close to that one wearing out to begin with. To me, it kind of feels like it's not just the Institute that needs to be tore down, it's the DA in of itself as well, but obviously only time will tell. But it's a pretty crazy episode for revealing a lot of information, not only because it was kind of clear with the whole Mika situation that he wanted to protect Chisato. She was given an artificial heart, she's a mad killing tool, but obviously she started doing her own thing. You can see the train of thought because he clearly cared for the girl, and now we get the confirmation that both him and Shinji were basically her parents, and yes, one kind of decided to up and leave for smokes and never came back, and the other actually raised the girl, but you understand where the sort of betrayal is because there was a mutual agreement that I will give you the heart, but she has to be the killing tool. We see what she's capable of, but her heart disease is going to kill her in a couple of months' time as is. So the whole idea that, you see why on one hand, if you look at it from the Institute's point of view, this is what was supposed to happen. I disconnected from this because I wasn't going to get it connected. Look at the hugging scene, right? She's saying, you're my savior, and she definitely misunderstands a lot about that, such as the gun is for helping people. All things considered, you understand where Miko is coming from, because why would he want this innocent girl to, not have a life that's peaceful, rather than turning her into a torturing killing device? There was definitely a lot of, I think, impressions in terms of the bar scene when they discovered who her savior was, and they're like, oh, he's out there on a date with a guy. I think it was kind of a coin toss, in my opinion, if they were more than just friends, or I guess acquaintances, because it was more of a hostile interaction, all things considered. We get a scene in this episode of them both in bathrobes in a hotel. If you needed any more like guaranteed hitting on the head, they were lovers. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And I think because of that reveal, in my opinion, the sort of, is it just Yuri bait between Chisato and Takina? Because there's a hell of a lot of chemistry. In my opinion, there's been a lot of moments that have said, there's more than just friendship feelings there. Given what they just did with Mika and Shinji, I'm sort of expecting if, like, whether Chisato lives or dies or not, I think there's going to be a kiss, man. I kind of feel that way at this point, and I hope they do, because it feels like the chemistry is there. That's not just, like, pointless character shipping, like, based on how they are together. It's not even just the obvious visual cues from blushing to, you know, getting all giddy. It's just how much they truly care for each other. It's beyond just friendships, in my opinion. And imagining if they ended this show with, like, her dying in, like, a hugging or a kissing scene, like, that shit would break me, man. Now, a heart transplant is probably likely, whether that's Majima helping, stealing an artificial heart, the surgery gets put in there, maybe she'll get a better one, because if she was given one as a kid, and, you know, 10 years later, 10 years in technology time is literally the difference between a shitty-ass computer that could barely run, download a picture on the internet, to now literally being able to 3D print, right? So there's potential that she'll get another heart that can do 50 years or something. But it still isn't looking good. Not only do we have the parting scene after this kind of like date adventure with Takina and Chisato, now she's going back to the DA in hopes to probably get information that can save her, but just imagining that if she spends next to 2 months trying to find that solution that isn't potentially there and her time's running out, I mean, 2 months isn't a lot of time to begin with, imagining if she only has 24 hours at one point. Like, it's hard to say. The end of the episode is the biggest, like, holy shit, things are spicing up in the final stretch here, but overall, it's more heartbreaking than I thought initially pointed out. I mean, the whole idea of having a kill switch saying we'll turn it off, we'll kill you, or potentially control you, that's pretty fearful, that's pretty like, oh shit, what if they force her to fight Takina? What if they just kill her on the spot? The whole idea of they easily could have killed her in that moment, but instead, they powered her down to the point that no one can tap into that heart, no one can recharge it, you get 2 months. I feel like they're still saying, this is your last shot. Like, you're gonna die no matter what, we don't have to really worry about you. You have 2 months to determine, are you going to be beneficial? Because if they can save their most talented killer, which she can be the most talented killer. No one can shoot her if she's in her right headspace. It's understandable why they're still trying to pull her back in, and honestly, I feel like Takina is going to be a bargaining chip now that she's back at the DA, and I feel like the DA is in the hands of the Allen Institute. Like, they're in their pocket, so shit just isn't looking good right now. It's not looking good in the slightest. Which, I mean, that's kind of like saying the obvious at this point, because it hasn't been looking good for some time. It's just more heartbreaking, in my opinion, with that no time left attitude, and I don't know where we're going from here. It's exciting, it's exhilarating, it's heartbreakingly romantic, and I can't wait to see more. Thoughts, feelings, theories down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. Until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.